You know, over the years, I have made some whopping homeschool mistakes with my kids.
I made some mistakes.
I hope that you're really going to benefit by this, and this is going to save you a lot of heartache. This homeschool mistake, I'm afraid to say, is something I still struggle with, and that is getting too invested in what your children are learning. Sometimes your child is sitting down and you're thinking to yourself,
this is too easy.
And you're sitting there at his elbow, just kind of going, come on, why can't you see this? You just do this, come on. I made this mistake myself the other day when Luke was playing piano, and I thought to myself, I know how to play this piece and you just need to do this. It's really easy, but he's 6 and he just wasn't getting it. And I think I was ruining the experience with him. And so I just walked away and I let him do it. It was using a piano app he was learning to play with, and I just let him do it. And I thought, you know, I'm just entirely too invested in this. I need to walk away, let him have some space. And I have been doing that over the last few days, and he's actually starting to enjoy it. And I thought the difference between him succeeding and failing is that I'm not at his elbow, just pushing him too hard, and I'm letting him do it at his own pace. So don't get too invested. It's really hard to step back. It's less stressful for you, and it's certainly less stressful for your child as well.
He's so stressed out lately.
The second big newbie mistake I see is pushing your children through tears. So if they're just not getting something and you're just saying you need to sit down and you need to do it until you get it and they're in tears,
Sit down and listen.
don't do that. Just let them walk away from the material and either come back to it again another day when they're fresher, another time when they're fresher. You can also look at skipping a few weeks or a few months and coming back to the material when you think that maybe their brain is at a stage where they can get it. Or you can try and teach the material in a new way. So instead of teaching it on paper, you can teach it with a pizza. Remember, your aim is to teach so that you create lifelong learners who want to then teach themselves. When you get them to this stage in homeschooling, that they'll homeschool themselves and they don't even need you at their elbow pushing them along. The third homeschool mistake for newbies, one I made in my very first homeschool year, was starting too early. Luke, my son, loves all of his subjects except reading because I started him at age 3. I started pushing him to try and learn the ABCs at age 3, and I should have just waited until he expressed interest, but I was just so keen, too keen to start. Now I think he's got a little bit of a mental block because of that, and he is reading now, but I think if I had waited, it would have been a fun experience for him instead of one that feels like drawing teeth. And what we did when that wasn't working is we definitely had a few months off, or I think we stopped for a whole 6 months, and then we just started very, very slowly because I'd kind of sabotaged the homeschool journey for him in regards to reading a little bit. The fourth homeschool mistake to not make is not one that I've made personally, at least I hope I haven't made it personally, is bubble wrapping your children. Not letting your children play with other children because they're not the type of children you would have them play with. Perhaps the other children have different interests that are not really approved. I feel like, and hey, push back at me in the comments, but I actually feel it's better for our children to interact with everyone, be in the world, but not of the world. And you as a homeschool parent can be there right next to them, talking them through the difficult things they've seen that day. We have kids who come over to our place, and I love these kids, but they're very different. They have a house where the swearing is quite acceptable, but we don't have that in our house. And I would prefer to teach my children that we don't do that, and that's because God has said not to swear, and that's something that we're not going to do. And we don't blaspheme and tell them the reason why. I don't send my children to school because I want to be there and I want to be teaching them these things as they come up, and I want them to lovingly interact with people around them and teach them that firsthand right when those situations are happening. And I don't think you can do that as well in school. So as you can see, it's very different from bubble wrapping your children. As Christian parents, this is a wonderful opportunity for you to share the gospel and the love of Jesus with those around you in your neighborhood, in your area. You have something wonderful to share, and that is Jesus, so share it. The next mistake you don't want to make in your homeschool, and it's something that I'm working on not having in our homeschool, is raising a know-it-all.
When I was small, I only knew small things, but now I'm 5, I know everything.
You can have a little boy or a little girl who knows so much, and you've put so much time into teaching them these things, and they've really got the concept. They really know it all. But you need to teach them not to have a mouth that suggests to everybody else that they know it all, because your kid isn't going to be well liked. We went to a homeschool co-op not so long ago, and there was a little boy there who was such a know-it-all. And he was 8, he was very, very cute, but he would just tell you that he knew this and he knew that. And I thought, oh, you are so cute, but in a couple of years' time, that's not going to be cute. You need to get rid of that habit.
Okay, you're annoying me now.
You can avoid this mistake by teaching your children about pride, and that is telling everybody what you know, and humility, knowing it, but not putting it into people's faces. And I think that, if your child knows something, then that material should be used to glorify God with, not to glorify themselves with. It's kind of that idea of do unto others or say unto others as you would have them do unto you or say unto you, right? The next mistake I made in my first year of homeschooling was feeling like I had to do everything in the curriculum. This is too much. There are so many curriculums there that are they're deliberately made with too much material, so you can't really do it all unless you're really, really committed to it. And then if you are, you'll probably get burnt out in the process of it.
I'm pretty tired.
So remember that you are the teacher. You get to decide what's going to be good for your child and what's going to be too much. What's going to be good for your homeschool and you as the homeschool mum or dad in this situation. If it's going to be too much, then do it another day. Get rid of the material, get rid of entire lessons, skip busy work. There are so many ways you can change the curriculum. Get an easier curriculum. Remind yourself that you know what is best for your homeschool, for you, what you can manage as a homeschool parent. Maybe you're like, my life is way too busy to do this curriculum.
I told you not to bother me this morning. I am busy.
Then don't do it. Switch to something easier. If you've got a curriculum you hate, then you can always switch to easy peasy, which is completely free if it's not working for you, the first one. Another mistake I have made in my homeschool is too much screen time with my children. I have found that if my child watches too much screen time, and you will know what too much is in your home. Some kids can take more, some kids can, it's not good for them. So that is entirely up to you to decide. But keep in mind that too much screen time is definitely detrimental to children. Children should be outside and playing if you can possibly management for hours a day. Charlotte Mason was really into that. Nature is a wonderful teacher of our children. Instead of inside and just sitting and on screens all day long, there's a reason they call entertainment amusement. That is because the A in amusement is absence of, and muse is to think. So the whole idea with entertainment is an absence of thinking, where you're just sitting there and watching it and you're not actually training your brain. Whereas if your child is reading a book, they're actually having to think about the words that are going in there. If they're outside analyzing plants and making their own creations and they're being creative, then they're actually having to think, they're musing, and all those things are wonderful. And that's why a lot of the time we're so down on screens. Now, you can also make the mistake of buying a really bad homeschool curriculum that is not for you. Here is a video on homeschool curriculum picks I would not choose and why.